Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, a very good morning I bid to you all. It is my honor to be the moderator of this event. My name is Michael and I'm currently a language teacher in SJKC from U2. As a representative of my school, I would like to extend a warm welcome to each and every one of you. Your presence here today signifies your commitment to knowledge sharing, collaboration, and the pursuit of progress. Together, we embark on a journey of insightful conversations, valuable exchanges, and exploration of ideas that will shape your collective future. Before we get started, I would like to go over a few items so that our program can go on smoothly. First of all, I would like to gladly remind everyone to turn off their microphones to avoid disturbance to the presenter. Besides that, you will have the opportunity to submit questions to our presenter today by typing your questions into the comments in YouTube Live or Zoom. You may send your questions at any time during the presentation, and we will collect these and address them at the end of the presentation. Before we begin our program today, I would like to invite our lovely Madam Rema Chong Kung Ha, the headmistress of SJKC Fung U2, to deliver her speech today. Madam Rema, the floor is yours.
Terima kasih diucapkan kepada saudara pengacara majlis. Yang dihormati Encik Muhammad Said bin Daiman, Pengarah Pendidikan Negeri Johor dan pegawai-pegawai Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Johor. Yang berusaha Dr. Adam Lim Chee, Pengarah Penubuhan Save Our Seahorses Malaysia. Guru-guru besar, guru-guru penolong kanan, dan guru-guru murid-murid yang dikasihi sekalian. Salam sejahtera dan salam Malaysia Madani. Saya berasa cukup bertuah kerana pada hari ini kita dapat bersama-sama dalam majlis perkongsian ilmu melalui webinar pengenalan kehidupan kuda laut. Terlebih dahulu, saya ingin mengambil kesempatan ini untuk merakamkan setinggi-tinggi penghargaan, syabas dan tanya kepada semua pihak yang terlibat dalam memastikan webinar ini dapat dilaksanakan seperti yang telah dirancang. Untuk pengenalan semua, pada tahun 2022, SJKC Funyu 2 telah menyertai pertandingan perkis peringkat kebangsaan dan pertandingan IMELC peringkat negeri. Pihak sekolah menggerakkan lebih banyak projek yang berkaitan dengan pendidikan kelestarian untuk memenuhi 17 matlamat yang perlu dicapai dalam matlamat pembangunan lestari atau dikenali sebagai Sustainable Development Goal SDG menjelang tahun 2030. Hadirin sekalian, dengan adanya penganjuran webinar ini menjadi platform kepada guru-guru dan murid-murid untuk menambahkan ilmu pengetahuan dan memberi pendedahan terhadap perlindungan kehidupan seperti kuda laut. Saya berharap semoga webinar ini dapat melahirkan generasi muda yang dapat menjaga alam sekitar, khususnya kehidupan laut. Akhir kata, terima kasih kepada semua pihak yang telah berganding bahu dalam memastikan webinar ini dapat dilaksanakan dengan jaya. Sekian, terima kasih.
Thank you, Madam Rema, for your remarkable and exceptional speech. Next, I would like to invite the representative of Director of Johor Education Department, Mr. Muhammad Rosli bin Muhammad Othman, who is currently the Deputy Director of Student Development from the Student Development sector in our Johor State Education Department, to officiate our program this morning. Mr. Rosli, the floor is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Terima kasih tuan-puan pengacara majlis. Yang berusaha Puan Rema Chong Kung Ha, Guru Besar SJKC Fun U2, selaku pengurusi jawatan kuasa webinar pengenalan kehidupan kuda laut peringkat negeri Johor 2023. Yang dihormati Dr. Adam Lim Chee, Pengarah Penubuhan Save Our Seahorses Malaysia selaku penceramah undangan pada hari ini. Yang dihormati semua pengetua dan guru besar yang hadir pada hari ini, barisan guru penolong kanan dan warga pendidik sekolah-sekolah negeri Johor, ahli jawatan kuasa webinar dan para peserta webinar yang dikasihi sekalian. Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Para hadirin yang saya hormati, alhamdulillah, bersyukur kita kehadrat Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala kerana dengan limpah dan izinnya dapatlah kita semua bersua dalam talian bagi menjayakan webinar pengenalan kehidupan kuda laut peringkat negeri Johor tahun 2023. Terlebih dahulu, saya ingin mengucapkan jutaan terima kasih dan tahniah kepada seluruh jawatankuasa pengelola webinar pengenalan kehidupan kuda laut atas kerjasama dalam menjayakan webinar ini. Mudah-mudahan kerjasama yang erat ini akan berterusan pada masa yang akan datang. Tahniah dan syabas juga diucapkan kepada SJKC Funyu 2 kerana telah berjaya menghimpunkan peserta-peserta iaitu murid tahap 2 sekolah rendah dan sekolah menengah di negeri Johor dalam webinar ini. Sebagaimana yang kita sedia maklum, usaha ini memerlukan komitmen yang tinggi dari semua pihak kerana webinar ini dilaksanakan secara dalam talian. Pihak Jabatan Pendidikan Negeri Johor berharap agar aktiviti sebegini dapat memberikan banyak manfaat kepada semua peserta, khususnya dalam peningkatan markah PAJSK murid itu sendiri. Para hadirin sekalian, umum telah maklum bahawa kuda laut penting untuk keseimbangan ekosistem marin. Malangnya, pembangunan dan aktiviti manusia telah mengakibatkan pencemaran laut dan habitat kuda laut turut terancam. Usaha murni penganjuran webinar seperti ini diharapkan dapat memberi pendedahan tentang kehidupan kuda laut serta meningkatkan kesedaran terhadap penjagaan alam sekitar. Webinar ini juga merupakan wahana perkongsian ilmu dan sumber pengetahuan serta penerapan nilai-nilai murni kepada murid-murid negeri Johor. Pada masa yang sama, dalam kesempatan ini juga, saya ingin mengucapkan tahniah kepada para peserta yang telah mengikuti webinar ini dengan jayanya. Saya dimaklumkan peserta perlu memenuhi prasyarat webinar ini dengan mengikuti webinar sepenuhnya dan menjawab 50 soalan kuis serta perlu mencapai markah minimum pada masa yang telah ditetapkan untuk mendapat sijil penyertaan peringkat negeri yang diiktiraf untuk PAJSK. Akhir kata, sekali lagi ucapan tahniah dan syabas kepada semua pihak yang telah menyumbangkan idea, tenaga dan komitmen yang tinggi bagi menjayakan webinar ini. Saya akhiri ucapan dengan lafaz Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Saya merasmikan webinar pengenalan kehidupan kuda laut peringkat negeri Johor tahun 2023. Sekian, terima kasih. Bismillah.
Thank you, Mr. Rosley, for his enlightening yet inspiring speech. Ladies and gentlemen, before we start our discussion on today's theme, let us turn on our cameras and take a photo together. Mr. Jared, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay. I would like the slide to be turned off first because I need to take a photo of groups. We wait for a few seconds. Okay, ready? 3. Okay, freeze your movement. Okay, 3, 2, 1. One more. 3, 2, 1. Another slide. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gerard, for his wonderful photo taking session. So today we gather here under the theme of uncovering the secrets of seahorses. This theme reflects the seahorses are fascinating creatures that captivate the imagination of children and adults alike. We will explore the magical world of seahorses and discover their unique characteristics, such as their vertical swimming style, their carnivorous diet, and their unusual reproductive traits. Throughout this course of panel discussion, we will hear from a distinguished expert who is at the forefront of his respective field. His knowledge and insights will inspire us, challenge our assumptions, and provide us with new perspectives. Therefore, let me introduce our distinguished speaker today. His name is Dr. Adam Lim Chee. He is currently the director of the Save Our Seahorses, SOS, Malaysia. He had obtained his Bachelor of Science, especially in Marine Biology, from University Malaysia, Terengganu, UMT, in 2009, and completed his doctoral studies at University Malaya, in 2017. He is currently the regional focal point of the Southeast Asia and species focal point for Hippocampus kuda, and Hippocampus comes under the International Union for Conservation of Nature, IUCN Species Survival Commission, SSC, Seahorse, Pipefish, and Sea Dragon Specialist Group. His team at SOS Malaysia is wrapping up their nationwide survey project, Tracing Our Seahorses. Another wonderful achievement that has been done by Dr. Adam Lim is that he also published a children's book, A Seahorse Story, continuing his quest to merge science and storytelling and environmental advocacy. Without further ado, Dr. Adam Lim, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Michael. All right, so if I may, I would like to share my slides. Okay. Okay, you should be seeing the slide very soon. All right. A very good morning to everyone. Thank you very much to the organizers for the wonderful invitation. Of course, I've never backed down from sharing the wonderful characteristics and information about seahorses that I've been working on for many years now. Right. Much thank you to, of course, the organizers, to school, SJKC, FUNU 2, of course, the pegawai from the Kementerian Pendidikan Negeri Johor. Wonderful students here tuning in today, and of course, we have others who are sitting in as well. The parents sitting in as well, right? Today, I'm going to be talking, as the title says, uncovering the secrets of the seahorses. So what I'll be touching is basically on the why seahorses are very unique, and sometimes I call it they have actually superpowers themselves. So today is going to be a more of a exploration. Let's explore the different kinds of superpowers that the seahorse would have, and why are they unique, and what makes them so special, and very different from all the other marine animals that we have out in the sea. Right? But before I go into that, of course, we had Brother Michael over there sharing a little bit about my background. I'm just going to touch up a little bit more. I've been working with seahorses for a good 15 years now, since my undergraduate, as mentioned in the University of Malaysia, Terengganu. So I did 3 years of bachelor's over there, studying broadly about marine biology. But that's when, I actually started off as a volunteer with SOS Malaysia, which I'm currently heading. As a volunteer, I joined the group. It's actually in Johor. We went out to look for seahorses, and just when spotting them, it's just truly magical. So I'm going to share with you why a little bit later. Why is it that turned me and got me so curious that until today, 15 years later, I'm still working on studying, trying to understand a little bit more day by day what seahorses, not only about seahorses, the cousins of seahorses as well. You have the pipefish, you have the sea dragons and the pipe horses. And throughout my journey, of course, I've completed my PhD, my doctoral studies in the University of Malaya, which also led me to currently head as the head of Southeast Asia under the Seahorse IUCN SSC Seahorse Pipefish and Sea Dragon Specialist Group. So this is a little group of all seahorse, pipefish, and sea dragon specialists, all the scientists around the world, where we gather together and then we share our knowledge and share our love for not only for seahorses, but the whole family as well. There are not too many of us, probably plus minus, you're looking about 50 to 60 of us only on a global scale. I've been also appointed as the National Seahorse Expert under the iSeahorse project, which is where we want to, get people to volunteer. So you have the people who are scuba diving. So for those of you who dive, if you spot a seahorses, you can upload them into a server, and then this is where we need your help to work together to look out for where seahorses are. All right. And last and certainly not least, I'm also appointed as the technical advisor under the Taman Negeri Perak. So that's another project. So our work is not only in Johor, but we have done work in Penang, we have done work in Perak, Sabah, Terengganu. There are other states here around as well, which I will touch a little bit towards the end of my project. So of course, that's enough about myself. I think let's go on to the very important part, which you are here today listening in. It's what exactly is a seahorse, right? It's a very simple question, but a lot of people, got confused. So today, I'm going to make it very simple for all of you, especially to the fellow listeners here. What exactly is a seahorse? In English, we call it seahorse. Then we have kuda laut in Malay. Then we got hoima, and then we got haima. And different languages all around the world, we have, we call it something differently. But at the end of the day, what exactly is a seahorse? So if we break the word seahorse into two different words, the first part is the sea. I'm sure most of you know quite well what the sea is. If not, otherwise you can look at this picture and you can see that the sea is the ocean, reaching out to the ocean. If you go to the beach, you play in the saltwater environment, and below the waves there are tons of different animals. So the sea here, it reminds us or tells us that, okay, this particular animal is found in the ocean, in the sea, in saltwater environment. And comes the second word. And of course, if you're more familiar with the word horse, or the horse is what you're looking at, it's a land-based animal. But what if we take sea and a horse and we put them together? What do you get? You get a seahorse. Yeah. So you're looking at a seahorse it's a horse with a float. Obviously, this is not the real seahorse, right? Okay, so let me introduce what is a real seahorse. There you go. So this is a seahorse. As you can see, it looks completely different than a normal horse, except for its head. So if you can look at my cursor, you can see the head here, this part. Doesn't it look like a horse? Correct, right? So yeah. So many years ago, most of the time when people have not explored the ocean, we don't know much or anything about what are the different kind of fishes or different kinds of animals that live under the sea. When we have not found them, of course, we are not able to name them. So in many years ago, in the ancient times, whenever you spot something and you don't know its name, it is very common that you try to match it to some of the land things that you see on everyday life. So because the head looks like a horse, so people back then said, this is a horse, and it comes from the sea. So let's call it a seahorse, right? So that it's that simple. There are many different animals that you get almost similar as well, but seahorse is a common name, all right? But it doesn't answer my question to you. What exactly is a seahorse, all right? So this question has been going around for many years, very long time. So the scientists and the smart people from the ancient times, they were always arguing. Some people say the seahorse is a horse that lives in the sea. Then the other group, they were arguing, no, seahorse is a type of insect. I don't know how they came about to that. And some say, no, maybe seahorses are a type of crab. So they were always arguing. So, and they argue, and finally one day, they all decided to sit down and come together and say, okay, let's settle this for good. How do we know what animal is a seahorse? So they argued, and come to an agreement that seahorses are fish. All right? Yes, you heard it right. Seahorses are fish. But do they look like a normal fish? If you see it on the right, the seahorse on the left, the other fishes on the right, they don't look pretty much the same, right? Yeah, so they're very unusual. That they don't look like a fish, but trust me, they are fishes. All right. So before I get into the other parts of that, there's a common name. Most of our names, animal names, it comes with a genus and a species. We are actually derived from what we call a Latin name. So Latin language will give a common name that everyone can refer to. So back then in Latin, all seahorses in the world, the genus of it, the grouping of a genus is called Hippocampus. So if we break it into two, like what I said earlier, hippos means horse in Latin, and campos means sea monster. So it's a horse sea monster. So as I shared earlier, many people are not aware, and then they don't even know whether this is a fish or not. It looks strange, weird. Some people call it cute. Some people call it unique. You know, at the end of the day, people from back then, they call it sea monster, right? It's a horse sea monster. So that name has stuck in today. For, you know, in terms of in the world of science, we call it all seahorses are hippocampus. All right. But seahorses are not alone. And of course, they are within the same family, we have different kinds of the other kinds of fish. We call it the relatives of the seahorse. So who are the cousins of the seahorse? So if you look at this slide over here, we have 4 different kinds of cousins for the seahorse. Let's go on to the one on the top right first. You can see this. This is called a leafy sea dragon. So for those of you who went to have traveled, visit the aquarium, so chances are you have seen this beautiful little fish. It's called the leafy sea dragon. It's only found in Australia and some parts of New Zealand. So it's only in that area. We don't have them in Malaysia, unfortunately. But if you do spot them, chances are it's in an aquarium. The more common cousins of the seahorse goes down below. It's called a pipefish. All right. So it's a pipefish. So if you notice, all different 4 cousins, they have something similar. I want you to take notice. Look at the mouth. This is the mouth. This is the mouth. This is the mouth. It's long, right? I'll explain a little bit what does it do for a seahorse. But ultimately, so the cousins of seahorse, we have the pipefish. We have also, here's the flag-tailed pipefish. So it's like, this one is slightly different. It has a beautiful tail at the end, which is slightly larger. And this tail is like a little flag. So different types of flag-tailed pipefish have different patterns. All right. And this one is more, what I would say, something more rare. Not many people would know about. This is called a pipe horse. So what exactly is a pipe horse, right? You may ask. It's a half pipefish, half seahorse. Head of a seahorse, tail of a seahorse, belly of a seahorse, but the body like a pipefish. Weird, right? Yeah. When I first saw it, when I was scuba diving one day, also in Johor, I felt that this is unique and this is very, very different. Okay. Right. So let me share with you why I think seahorses are, a very charismatic group of fish, so unique and very different that, become my main interest and why I want to study or find out more and more about them on a daily basis. Right. All right. I think earlier I've shared about, seahorses. Why is the namesake? Is because they have a horse-like face. It is a fish with a horse-like face. All right. Elongated. And that, so it's unique. There are no other fishes that share the horse-like face similar to them, yeah? All right. Remember I asked you to take notice of the long tube mouth there? This is actually the mouth of the seahorse. So the mouth of a seahorse is, can be long, can be short. It is like a straw, all right? So all seahorses, pipefishes, sea dragons, we call them as cousins because they have one similar feature. They have one part of their body that is the same, which is the mouth. So it's not like us, like not our jaw. You can open wide open like our jaw. It's not like that. So all of them have a short or long snout. We call this a snout. So it acts like a little straw. So what happens is that, how do you drink water from a straw? You put the straw into your mouth and then you suck. So that's exactly how a seahorse would eat. It would just suck up their prey. I will touch a little bit more about that. All right. So as I said that, see, the mouth of a seahorse is like a straw. And this is they they only have one straw, yeah, so they cannot change. So they'll have throughout the whole lifetime, they're relying on this mouth, so they cannot change the straw, yeah. All right. So this is their mouth. What they do is they go out. This is the prey. This is called what we call kopi pot. So seahorses eat kopi pot on anything small. They eat animals, and then they will suck up directly all the way inside. All right. I will touch a little bit more later in my slides. But just for your information, so seahorses, they eat their prey by sucking them up like a straw. All right. Yes. Seahorses are purely carnivorous. Carnivorous means they eat other animals. All right. Some people, yeah, I know I have friends and family who came up to me and said, like, hey, I thought seahorses are vegetarian. So unfortunately, seahorses are not. All right. They don't eat algae. They don't eat seaweed. They eat prawns, baby fishes. They eat some. This is something called a very small organism called copepods. So they eat copepods and zooplanktons, or basically any other animal that can fit this tiny little snout. If they can suck it up, yeah, why not? So back then I have a student who was studying what is the diet of a seahorse. We found out that seahorses were also, in the belly, we found out that they have worms, they have shells, they have crab. Of course, like I said, we have prawns as well, and all the other tiny marine critters at the bottom of the ocean. Right? That's what they eat. All right. So, but how? You think that, if a fish has a straw as a mouth, it has to be pretty hard to eat, right? You cannot be using a straw and chasing after everything. So that's why seahorses, they have adapted in such a way. They are like ninjas, they're little ninjas. So they will just hide away and wait. Seahorses ambush their prey. So that means they sit down, they hang around, they wait for their food to pass by, and bam, just like that. Less than a second, they will suck it up, swallow it whole, right? Seahorses do not have teeth, so they cannot chew their food. So they swallow their prey whole. All right, so from what you can see over here, this is, we use a very super fast camera. We managed to capture that. See the seahorse approach its prey, and then just snap, you just suck it up, just like that, right? Let's go on to the next superpower. Not only that it can, have the ability like a ninja to go and ambush its prey. The eyes of a seahorse is very, very sharp. Seahorses are one of the best eyesights at the bottom of the ocean. So we say it's like they have eagle-eye vision. So they rely very heavily on their eyes to spot their prey or spot for danger. So let's say if it's something big nearby that is very dangerous for them, so they would know what to do, right? So the eyes of a seahorse is like an eagle, right? They use it for hunting, and then they look around and attack. So once they see a food pass by, the eyes will be locked like an eagle, and just wait for the right opportunity before it strikes, right? But that's not the only unique thing about the eyes. Have you looked at the gecko or those cicak or the lizard on the wall? Have you ever looked at their eyes? So the eyes of a chameleon or a gecko, they're independent from one another. That means the left eye can look left and the right eye can look up or down or right. For us humans, we are not able to do that because we follow, if left eye goes left, the right eye goes left. We are not able to independently control our eyes like the lizard. But in this case, the seahorse is able to do that. So they get to look up. So for one eye is looking at you, the left eye is looking at food. They can just process it that way. So how special is that? All right. To me, what I like to say is that all seahorses, they are royal members. Why I say that? Because seahorses are either kings and queens and princes and princesses. Because why? Every seahorse, if you look on the left, there's something bouncing up on the head. It's called a crown. So every seahorse, there's a crown. Different species of seahorse, the crown is slightly different. All right. And if you look very closely under the microscope, even within the same species of seahorse, the crown can be different as well. Why is it that way? Okay. So the crown of a seahorse is like our thumb. If you take up your thumb, if you look at your thumb now, you will notice you'll be having fingerprints on your thumb, right? And each of us have a very unique fingerprint to ourselves. It's the same for the seahorse, all right? Exactly the same as seahorse. Seahorses do not have hands, so they do not have fingerprints, right? But instead, they have a unique crown of their own, and this crown, it's shaped differently for different person. I mean, different fish, right? So that's how they tell each other apart. But the function of the crown is not just for fingerprinting or that, right? This is part of my PhD study. So basically, back then for 7 years, I was spending a lot of time listening to seahorses, right? Can you guess what sound does a seahorse make? Right. So when I ask this question, it's like, seahorses produce sound? These are the common questions that I get. I say, yeah, I didn't know about that. But until I studied about them, I was listening on seahorses. So I was very kepo back then. So I was listening in to the seahorses, trying to understand what sound do they make. All right. So if you take two of your fingers, your thumb and your pointer finger, and you snap. Can you snap your fingers? If you're snapping your fingers and you notice the sound, that is the same kind of sound that a seahorse would make. Right? How is it possible? I use an X-ray machine and I look into the crown of a seahorse. Have you noticed here on the left picture? There are two different bones. These two different bones, this part is like our thumb and this part is our pointer finger. So when the seahorse raises his head, lift his head up, this pointer finger is going to hit the thumb, causing a clicking sound. All right. So to make it simple and understandable, all right, each of us, when we snap our fingers, do you feel that it sounds a little bit different? Right, my snap and your snap may be different, right? Some of you may be young, some of you may be slightly more senior, right? When you snap, it's different. Why? Because our thumb size is different. So same for a seahorse, the size of a seahorse, the shape of the coronet, we call this a coronet, or the crown is different. Therefore, the sound can be different for different seahorses. All right? But I've not put in a slide. I'm just going to add a little bit information today, right? The snapping sound is not the only sound for the seahorse. Another sound that I discovered is that seahorses also like growl. They're like, it's like how I would describe it. It's like taking a balloon. If you take a balloon, you blow up a balloon. If you take a rubber band and just rub the rubber band across the balloon, you'll hear like a grunting sound, right? That sound is when the seahorse is stressed. Seahorses, they are stressed, and then they will produce that sound. But we're not able to hear that. It's felt. All right. Okay, let's move on. Okay. Fun fact: seahorses are the only fish in the world with a neck. Can you think of any other fish in the world with a neck? If you can, do write it in the chat section. Yeah, I want to know what you think. If you know any other fish with a neck, you can write it in the chat box, and maybe I can pick that up and then check in with you whether if it's true or not. All right. So there are other fishes like eels and everything. The head directly links back to the body, so it's not counted as a neck. Yeah. All right. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. So seahorses, like I said, they're the only fish in the world with a neck. No other fish are able to we have not discovered, at least, to be able to say that they have a neck. Okay, let's move on. All right. The unique shape of a seahorse means that they swim very differently than a normal fish as well. Okay, so a fish would, with the tail towards the back, the head moving forward, they will move forward. Okay, they'll move horizontally. However, for seahorse, they are upright. They're always bobbing up and down. So if you're looking at the screen, you're looking at me, seahorse, they swim upright, so they move up and down. Okay, with their tails at the bottom and their head upwards. That's how a seahorse swims. And how do they swim? They actually have 4 different fins, yeah? So 2 pairs of fin, that means 4 fins. So there are 2 here towards the cheek, you know, 1 on each side, and the main one is towards the back. You see, this is the largest fin to the back. So it's like a little propeller or a little engine that, you know, we call this the dorsal fin. It will fin very, very quickly to move the seahorse forward. I said 4, right? Here, there's 2 here, 1 left, 1 right, and 1 more here. Where's the other one? The other one is actually over here. It's towards the front belly. It's a very, very tiny belly fin for it to become stabilized to maneuver, just so it don't fall over. You know, seahorse doesn't fall over. So despite having 4 different fins, unfortunately, they are the slowest swimming fish in the world. You know, for all its capability and its size, it's extremely slow. But instead, they have a monkey-like tail at the end. So we call this a prehensile tail. Right? So it's a monkey-like tail, yeah? So monkey-like tail is to grab onto things. So seahorse may not be able to swim very well, but they're able to grab onto anything, just hang on to their life. Right? They're able to do that. Right? So like I said, there's like a monkey-like tail. So if you go to the zoo and you come across what we call a spider monkey. So a spider monkey uses its tail like another hand. So it's 4 limbs, right? So but for the spider monkey, its tail is able to wrap around the branch as well and other things. So for a seahorse, exactly the same. They can hang around to corals, they can hang around to the rocks, they can hang around to branches, basically anything that they can wrap their tails around and hold on to it, they're able to do so. So, and it's really, really strong. All right. Fun fact is that we have learned from the seahorses and the tail. So there are some of the engineers, or those of you who aspire to become an engineer in the future, what they did was that they learned from the seahorse, the tail of the seahorse, we use that in engineering. How is that possible? Let me share with you. So I'm sure some of you may have grown up and then noticed this particular toy. All right, it's called a Hoberman sphere. You can pull it up to enlarge, and if you put a little bit pressure on it, it can actually shrink. It can dense up, scribble up together. So how does this play a part with the seahorse? Why does it matter? Let me share with you how does the tail of a seahorse look like. This is a cross section, a scan of a seahorse tail. And if you notice, the tail of a seahorse is not round. So the other fun fact I can share today is that seahorses have square tails. Yep, their tails are square, right? And it is made up of bony plates. So different color is a different plate. And if you notice these plates, they are stacking on top of one another, little Lego pieces, right? They're stacking on top of one another like our roof tiles. So if you go home and you look at your roof, you have different tiles stacking on top of one another. And then this allows it, by stacking, it allows it to be able to move around, okay? You're able to slide in and out, all right? So even here within the socket, there is a sharp end and then it goes into the hollow hole. It's able to spin around. You can see here, move around. So this gives the seahorse tail a lot of flexibility. And seahorses, they live at the bottom of the ocean, and where there's a lot of pressure, they're able to withstand the pressure, similar like this Hoberman sphere. So you put a little bit of pressure, able to slide inside to be able to sustain and manage the pressure all around it. How cool is that? I mentioned earlier about how the tail of seahorse inspire us in terms of technology and engineering. What happened is that the engineers used the square tail seahorse for their robot arm. So if you go to a factory, there are a lot of robots, and the arms of some of these robots actually square. Why? Scientists have found out that the square tail is stronger than a round tail. And because of that, the robot's arm need to be very strong to be able to, build our cars, build a lot of our, huge machines. They need very strong arms, and it's square, because that's where we learn from animals as well. So animals play a part in, moving forward and progressing as well. It's where we learn from them. All right. So I've spoken to you and shared with you all the outer parts of the seahorse. What about the inside part of a seahorse, right? So I shared with you earlier in a very early part of my presentation or sharing is that seahorses are fish. Why are they fish? It is because seahorses have gills. You can see here, seahorses have gills like every other fish. There's something what we call swim bladder. This is a swim bladder, right? All fishes have swim bladder. It helps the fish to move up and down the water column. So if you have an aquarium at home or you go out to the aquarium, you can see a fish. Some of them are swimming on the top of the aquarium, some are at the bottom. And how are they able to control? Is through this tiny little balloon called the swim bladder to control how they swim. And if their swim bladder has a disease or something wrong with it, you will notice that the fish will be struggling to swim and to maintain its balance. Yeah, so it's very important. So because the seahorse has a gills and a swim bladder, and they have fins as well, that's why they are categorized together with the other fishes. All right. So the other parts of the internal body are pretty much similar to other animals, but I want to highlight here a little something. If you look here closely, you can see the stomach, right? So where is the stomach? This tiny little place here. It is so tiny that we say that seahorses do not have stomach. All right. So what we say is that seahorses don't have stomach. When a seahorse eats its prey, it swallows it whole, goes into the tiny stomach. It's like as though there's no stomach. Straight away out here, poo-poo. All right. They go and poo it out. So whatever they eat, within a short period of time, it'll come out. They'll excrete out. All right. So because of that, the seahorse needs to always be eating. So a seahorse can eat about 30 to 50 prey a day. I mean, as long as they are awake, they can eat up to 30 to 50 different animals for adult seahorses. What about baby seahorses? Baby seahorses eat about 3,000 animals a day. You know, it's crazy number, but they need to eat a lot and a lot and a lot. You know, like when they're young, we need to be eating a lot to grow up fast, right? Yeah. So earlier I shared with you that the tail of a seahorse is square. Now let's look at the whole body of a seahorse. All right. The parts in pink are actually the bone. So this is what we call a staining method in the lab. We want to stain the bones to be able to see them clearly. All right. So in the lab, we found out that, look at this, it's a little diamond shape. So all these are like the little tiles of a seahorse. So the seahorse bone is different than any bones of the other fishes that you are more commonly know about. So if you have seen the bones of a fish, the seahorse bone is very, very different. So they're made of like plates. So seahorses are made up of combination of many diamond plates add up together. All right. So seahorses are, they also have a very tiny, thin layer of skin that stretch and cover along its body. So you can see the picture on the left. You can see the bone outline of a seahorse. And then we have, the skin, thin layer of skin surrounding it. I said skin because seahorses do not have scales, yeah? Fish have scales, but seahorses do not have scales, okay? Seahorse got no scales, huh? All right. Since we're on the topic of the skin of a seahorse, let's talk about it, all right? So the skin of a seahorse, we have 3 different kinds, all right? So the one on the left, you can see here, this is what we call a spiny seahorse. A lot of spines, right? A lot of thorns and spines. So this is kind of spiny seahorse. So there are quite a number of species of seahorse with a lot of spines, very sharp. It makes them, these spines are there to prevent the predator from biting. So you can say, if you bite me, I'm going to hurt you with my spines. I'm not going to be very tasty. Then we have the different kind of seahorse. This is kind of what we call a smooth seahorse, smooth skin seahorse, right? So all of it, they have bumps in it, but you can see it's very smooth. There are no spines. So there's a spiny one on the left. We have the smooth one in the center. What about the ones on the right? So the ones on the right are a little bit unique. You see a lot of little branches all around the body. So this comes to another superpower of the seahorse. The seahorse is able to grow. We call these skin filaments. Skin filaments, they can grow on its body. And all these like little branches are going to capture all the dust. We call this marine snow and all the things that will land and capture on it. So the seahorse are able to camouflage. You can see over here, a lot of the dirt and sand and mud covering the seahorse. You can use it to cover themselves, hide themselves away, because remember, they need to be like ninja, right? So the other fishes, they're not able to see them, or their prey, they're not able to spot them. So I need to disguise a little bit. So this is what they can do. They can grow skin out, to hide themselves away. Maybe look a little bit like the coral. And if they want to, they can actually drop off. They can, okay, I don't want this skin filament, I can just drop it off. Right? Growing skin is one thing. The next superpower is seahorses are what we call chameleons of the sea, of the ocean. They are able to change color. So yes, seahorses can change color. So they can change color to hide away, like the chameleon lizard. So if it's yellow, they can turn to yellow. If they're brown, they can turn to brown. And if they're black, they can turn to black. And in the right side, if it's pink and bulbous, the seahorse, or you can spot the seahorse, right? Pink and bulbous, they can be like, this is what we call pygmy seahorse. What's a pygmy seahorse? A pygmy seahorse, the adult size, what you see here on the right picture, is the same size as our pinky fingernail, right? It's the same size, probably about 1 cm or 1.5 cm, about there. Sometimes slightly larger, 2 cm, that's it, right? Can you spot the seahorse? Right? So what we have is a Denise seahorse. They're able to well camouflage. And the Denise seahorse look exactly like the host. These are called what we call sea fan branches. If you have not spotted the seahorse, it's up here, right in the center. So let me just draw. You can see over here. And this is the little eyes. And this is the mouth. Right? How cool is that? Okay, let's move on. Same thing, this is the other seahorse. It's not easy to spot them, especially when we're scuba diving and they're so tiny. So as you can see now, I'm wearing glasses. So I've been straining my eyes, looking out for seahorses. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So this next part, I want to talk about the behavior of a seahorse. Right? Seahorses, what I would say is that they are one of the best dancers of the bottom of the ocean. Yes, seahorses do dance, right? Same like its cousin, the pipefish on the left, they also dance. So the male seahorse and the female seahorse, they would meet up every morning. So I'm just going to go to the next slide. All right. The male seahorse and the female seahorse, they're going to meet up every morning. We call it as though they go dating. All right. They meet up every morning to maintain their pair bond. They don't have hands, so they hold tails. They hold tails, interlock their tails, and then they will spin round and round and round. So it's like keep spinning around, holding tails and go around each other. Sometimes they do not hold tails. They hold on to the same seagrass, or they hold on to the same coral or the branch. Then they just go round and round and round and round and round. Right? If for some of you who knows, sometimes you watch a little bit more TV, anything, and there's a little tree in the middle of the park, going left, going right. So seahorses, they dance like that. Okay, but when they are ready, they feel that, hey, every morning they dance, but there are some days where they feel that today we should dance a little bit more. So we are bonding a little bit better. We want to dance a bit more. So instead of holding tails and going round and round, they do what we call synchronized dancing. So the seahorse and the male and the female seahorse, they're going to go up and down the water column together for a few hours. So they go up and down. You need to get the timing right, to get the timing right. Up and down, up and down. So it's like we need to dance together. We make sure you get your steps correct, right? If it's not correct, tomorrow we'll do again. You get it until they get it right. Why? So when they get it right, and this is when, we say the female seahorse, this is a female seahorse, and this is a male seahorse, right? So the female seahorse will transfer the eggs into the belly of the male seahorse. And yes, seahorses are the only animal in the world where the males get pregnant and give birth. All right. So once again, if you see a pouch in a seahorse, it is a male seahorse. Yeah. So seahorses, once again, are the only animal in the world where the males get pregnant and give birth. So the female will transfer the egg into the belly of the seahorse inside here. The males become pregnant, and then they will keep all the eggs and fertilized eggs in the belly for 14 to 21 days before they deliver or give birth. Now, before I go to the next slide, I want you to take notice how loving they are. If you just look at the picture, you may notice a little heart shape. So whenever they're born and they're ready, let me just, okay, just give me a second. You can notice here, heart shape, right? How cool is that? So when they're doing the transfer process, there's a heart shape. All right, let's move on. All right. So this is a pregnant seahorse, pregnant male seahorse. You can see over here is the belly. So over time, as he goes, it will get bigger and bigger until after between 14 to 21 days, being pregnant, and then ta-da, baby seahorse starts to emerge from the pouch. All right. So seahorses are like kangaroos as well. You know, you have a kangaroo pouch, and then the baby joey is inside. Normally you have one joey, but for seahorses, you know, they have more than one. How many? Depending on the size of the male seahorse, it can be hundreds of seahorses to 1,000 little sea ponies. Right? I'm going to come back here a little bit. If you notice its shape, the baby seahorse looks exactly like the adult seahorse. Right? The feature and everything. It looks exactly the same. Okay. However, once they are give birth, you know, we go out to the ocean. It follows the current. Seahorses do not protect their young. So the father, the papa seahorse, and the mama seahorse do not look after their young. Yeah. So when they come out, they are supposed to take care of them on their own. And sometimes on the very same day of delivery, you know, the babies are born. The male seahorse can be pregnant again on the same day, and then it starts another 14 to 21 days. All right, so it continues on to that cycle. Okay. Now, enough about the body of the seahorse. We have talked about the physical characteristic. We spoke about the behavior of the seahorse. We spoke about the internal organs of the seahorse. Now let's talk about where seahorses can be found. Where do they live? Right? Where exactly do seahorses live? Right. So seahorses, like its namesake, can be found in all marine or oceanic habitats in the world. All right, except for river, for freshwater. If you see anywhere that is not salt water, that means in the river, in the lake, chances are we do not have seahorses there. You know, who knows? No one has ever discovered a seahorse in freshwater areas. But if you know, I could be wrong. In science, sometimes nothing is certain. If you spot a seahorse living in the freshwater, it could be a new discovery on its own. So where exactly do seahorses live? So on the top left here, this is a Viennese seahorse, hippocampus. It lives in the sea fan. So pygmy seahorses live on sea fan, and this seahorse, tawny seahorse, lives in the coral. This yellow seahorse is in the mangroves. Yeah, seahorses living in seaweed at the bottom left, living in seagrasses as well. We work with a lot of seahorses living in seagrasses. And then we have seahorses even in the muddy and the sandy. You thought like the bottom of the ocean where it's muddy and sandy. We do have seahorse. You can find seahorses there as well, you know, living in the sandy bottom. All right. Today, there are 46 different species of seahorses around the world. Every 2 to 3 years, we will uncover a new species of seahorse. There are some of my friends from around the world. They are working very tirelessly, you know, greatly. Sometimes they go around scuba diving, or sometimes people call us up and say, "Hey, I spot this unique seahorse." Then we think that let's come over and have a look. So the latest species to be discovered is back in 2020, 2021. It's called Hippocampus nalu. So it looks like a little bit like porcelain, right? Porcelain is like a pot, you know, different parts of the pot. So this is a pygmy seahorse, Hippocampus nalu, or Nalu's pygmy seahorse, right? It's found in Africa. back in 2020, 2021 by friends of mine, right? Accidentally. So they accidentally found this. And the name Nalu, what does it mean? So a lot of the pygmy seahorses nowadays, or the seahorse that we found today, they're named after the person that is first discovered it. For example, we have Satomi's pygmy seahorse discovered by a Japanese diver her name is called Satomi. So it's named after her. We have Baji Banti or Baji Bans discovered it. We have Denise seahorse discovered by Denise. Yeah, and in this case, Nalu is discovered by a lady, South African lady, scuba diver. Her name is Savannah Nalu. So he named it after her. So who knows? One day when you grow up or when you go scuba diving, you spot a new species of seahorse, you may contact me and then we can work on maybe name the seahorse after you. All right. So we have 46 different species of seahorses in the world today. Who knows? Maybe by the end of the year, we may have 47 or 48. It really depends. You know, this number is not fixed because every single day, it's not only with seahorses, scientists are discovering new species of animals out there as well. Right? There's lots of work to do. Okay. What about Malaysia? How many species of seahorse do we have? In Malaysia, we actually have 12 different species of seahorses in Malaysia. 12 is actually a very, very good number, I tell you. Why? Imagine the whole of Europe, you're looking at 4 different species. The whole of United States or North America, you're looking at 3 different species of seahorses only. Whereas in Malaysia alone, we have 12 different species. That's a good diversity that we have. And maybe we even have more that's just waiting for us to be discovered. Because some of the countries with the most species are like Australia, or probably even in the Philippines, you have more different species of seahorses than us. But nonetheless, 12 is a very, very good number. Right? Now, let's move on. I talked so much about seahorses, everything about them. So I think the burning question today is like, why are they important? Why are seahorses important? Have you ever asked that question? Yes, you know, seahorse is a fish. But what do they do? How come? Why are they important? Why do you love them so much? And why do we need them? All right? Because seahorses are unique. All right, they are very unique, very charismatic. It's easy for us to, you know, we look at seahorse, we know it's a seahorse. So it acts as a mascot or flagship species when we talk about certain topics such as marine conservation. Why we must protect this area? That's why, you know, a lot of people actually do love seahorses, you know, and seahorses has been around for hundreds and hundreds of years. And there are some culture that even, you know, have seahorse as part of the symbol. All right, let's just go through that. So seahorses are important to the environment. Why? Do you know that seahorses are the same level as the shark? Yeah. Seahorses are the same level as the shark. They are the top predator at the bottom of the ocean because the sharks are huge. You know, some of them are ferocious. They keep the ecosystem and the environment in balance. They keep it all under control, right? That's the role of a shark. But some of the tiny shrimp, the tiny plankton at the bottom of the ocean, the shark is not going to be spending a lot of time there eating tiny little stuff because the shark is huge. It cannot be eating small things, right? So this is where the seahorse come in. So the seahorse is at the bottom of the ocean, right? And then that's where they hunt for the tiny. They keep all the shrimp population and the planktons and the small animals all in check. Not too many of them. Keep them healthy, the whole population, right? There are no direct predators, so that means there are no specific fish or animals that only eat seahorses. No, we don't have them. That's why seahorses sit at the top of the food chain. Yes, we may, over there you can see that there are fishes who consume seahorses. And most of the time it's because it is opportunistic. So that means, so happen this poor little seahorse is at the wrong place at the wrong time and it gets eaten. Things like that do happen, all right? What about culture? In culture, if you heard of the Greek gods and in Greece, Zeus, and as the brother of Zeus is Poseidon. Poseidon is the god of the sea, all right, in Greece. And then he sits on a chariot, and his chariot car is pulled by seahorses. So you don't have horse right in the front. So seahorses will pull his chariot. So that's part of Greece. We have seen, and don't have to look far. If you look at Mersing in Johor, there's a Majlis Daerah Mersing. They have, through collaboration, I work well with them, because when we work with them, we got them changed. They wanted to change that. We want seahorses to be featured in the Jata, the crest in the Negeri Johor, for Daerah Mersing. So even if you go check it out now in Mersing, for those of you who are close by or may come from Mersing, you would notice that there are seahorses on the left and right of the crest. Right? Not only that, seahorses can be found in other parts of the world, in cultures as well. In architectures, you go to the Europe, and then you find seahorses at fountains. And if you know horoscope, Celtic horoscope in Ireland, in Irish, there is some people who are born in the month within the horoscope of Celtic. Right? It's the seahorse as well. So seahorses are everywhere, culturally, in architectures, and all around the world. What about trade? We don't have to look far, especially in Southeast Asia as well. Seahorses they do have some economic value to people who rely on them in terms of for trade. As unfortunately, there's a huge demand on a global scale. This is where I come in. Myself along with my other colleagues. This is where we work with the authorities. We work with the different jabatans across. We work with the enforcement authorities. We work with different countries. We work with do collaboration with different parties, and what we can do to protect the seahorses. What can we do to regulate the trade? How things can be done properly and sustainably, so seahorses will be able to be live on for many years and be able to see them, and understand them better. All right. So seahorses, this is not what I promote, of course. If you go to certain parts of the world, seahorses have been used in curios. They turn into keychains and aquarium. I do not encourage for anyone to buy, not only for seahorses, any items or souvenir that are made from animal parts. Right? We do not encourage that as well. All right. And even in aquarium. So I do not encourage that you will keep seahorses in an aquarium. Leave that to the professionals. All right. You have aquariums outside, but not as a pet at home. Because why? Most of the time when someone gets a seahorse go back to their home, the poor seahorse will starve to death and they will die in less than a week, because not many people know how to care for a seahorse. They are carnivores. They eat other fishes, right? And they eat a lot. So in terms of cost, it requires a lot of money to maintain, to take care of a seahorse. And it's never easy. You need a lot of time, a lot of care, and you have to feed the right food. So leave it to the professionals and don't buy seahorses from the aquarium shops to take care on your own, because chances are they would die. All right. Another way of spotting seahorse, you can go scuba diving. When some of you kids, when you grow up later on, you can take a scuba diving license. And there are other parts in not in Malaysia and around the world where you can scuba dive and spot seahorses. Even right here in Johor, you can actually dive. This is always the Mersing side of islands, Pulau Tinggi. You can actually dive to look for seahorses underwater. We can visit them in their natural environment, and without harming them, without collecting them, and we do that, try to understand them and where they live. So we are visiting them in that case. All right. Yeah. So what are the threats? So seahorses, live in their environment. I shared with you that they are very poor swimmers around, but unfortunately, seahorses are threatened. What are they threatened for? So there's something called a bycatch or bottom trawl. So what you see is a bottom trawl. It's a type of fishing method that we drop a huge net underwater and just drag this net and it catch everything indiscriminately. So everything that goes to the net gets caught and the whole environment is destroyed. So this is actually quite bad practice. Yes, it does get us the food, the food and resources that we need. But unfortunately, it destroys everything. If we destroy the home of the seahorse and all the other fish, these fishes will not replenish. They will not grow. And then in the future, who knows? We may not even have enough sea resources for us to use for our food or for our daily life, So this is one of those things that we say that we are trying to work very closely with the relevant authorities and the enforcement to keep things minimized and also sustainably. So there's a lot of work. It's not, that is put in just not only to save seahorses, but all the other unique marine creatures and all the ones that we see daily as well. Okay, so this is just an illustration. So usually a bottom trawl, as you can see, it will have two openings and then they just drag. So at the bottom of the ocean, a lot of corals and seagrasses and all the other marine life, they're very, very beautiful. But unfortunately, if this bottom trawl net drags across the bottom of the ocean, it leaves everything destroyed. So that's not what we want, right? You see, this is what happens when a full coral reef is destroyed. So one of the main threats is indiscriminate or destructive fisheries. It is okay to look for fish as resources for our daily meal, but you have to do it right. So this is where we all learn, and then we also want to keep things more sustainable moving forward in the resources that we gain. Another more common threat that we see around the world, not so much here in Johor, but other parts of the world, in the Philippines and even maybe bordering Philippines and Sabah in East Malaysia as well. It's what we call a dynamite fishing. So what happens is that they throw a bomb to the bottom of the ocean and it explodes. You can see here the huge water ripple, and all the fish that unfortunately died because of that, they will pick it up and then they sell in the market. And this is also another very, very bad practice. It's very, very dangerous as well. So this is totally illegal. So we are working very closely with the Coast Guards. We have lots of Coast Guards and all the enforcement officers are doing a very good job, in trying to cut down and track down to minimize these kind of illegal activities that are going around. So because why? Seahorses, once again, they are very bad at swimming. If this place explodes where they are, unfortunately, they will also suffer from that as well. All right. So seahorses are being traded, okay? Seahorses in the economic scale, they are being traded on a global scale. So this is one of the main threats, right? It's listed as CITES Appendix 2, which means it's under controlled trade. So anytime a country or anyone who wants to bring a seahorse from Malaysia out into another country, for example, Singapore, there's a lot of permit, a lot of letters, a lot of documents that need to be done correctly and be approved in order for us to do so, because seahorses are under controlled trade. We need to know what is it for, where is it from, is it done correctly, how is it collected, that kind of thing. So dried seahorse around the world are traded for traditional medicine. It's quite common, especially in Asia. And then they use for different cultural perspective as well. Some of you growing up may have seen or may have seen or felt or up close with a seahorse before, dead or alive, or sometimes in the dried form, whichever culture we belong to. Right? In the live industry, sometimes you go to your local fish shop, like the ones that sells your goldfish and all the other stuff. Sometimes you may see a seahorse over there. So once again, I do not encourage us to buy seahorses. We need to keep that trade in check. Do not buy, because it's not easy, and chances are they will be dead in less than a week because of the food. Seahorses cannot be starved. The minute they starve, they would very fast, they would die out. Yeah. Okay. Right. So another problem that we have in the world is pollution. So pollution is very simple. It's like whatever, a lot of the food and our daily life, we produce quite a number of waste. So from the plastics to the bottles to the other materials, the waste materials, whether it's a liquid material or solid material, if you don't dispose it nicely, you don't throw it in the right place, you don't manage it nicely, chances are it may go to the ocean. It goes down to the ocean, it will cover the coral reefs, it will choke the turtle, and in this case, unfortunately, the seahorses Normally they hang on to the corals, they hang on to the seagrass or the seaweed, but unfortunately they were hanging on to cotton buds and plastic pieces and bits and pieces. So that's not what we want, because sometimes like the seahorse, they hang on to the cotton bud, they will float according to the ocean waves, and they get caught up in the beach, and then they will dry from there, and they will die because of exposure to the sun. They need water to breathe. Yeah. So pollution does not only affect seahorses, it affects every single thing, including us, right? So pollution is very destructive, and it gets worse if you don't manage it well and right. So ladies and gentlemen, please manage your waste, dispose it very nicely and well. Make sure they go into the right bin. If possible, you are able to recycle most of them or reuse. Or if you're able to sort out or manage your waste, that's even better. All right. Okay. So I'm going to share with you a little bit on what exactly do I do with Save Our Seahorses Malaysia. Yes, I shared with you a lot about seahorses, but why do you need a scientist like myself, a seahorse specialist? And what's my role with SOS Malaysia, Save Our Seahorses Malaysia? And what kind of projects we do across the country? So tracing our seahorses is one of our latest projects. We are towards the tail end of it, so we're almost completing. And this project was started during the MCO, when everyone, all of us are stuck indoors for health, self-prevent health, and also COVID prevention purposes. We want to keep things in check. But our project was ongoing. This is where we actually, when we were able to travel, we were doing interviews with fishing ports, traditional medicine shops, curio shops, aquarium shop. We were doing a public survey, talking to people using social media as well, on Facebook and everything. People participate. So there's a whole set of questions that we asked. So we were asking about, have you seen a seahorse? Have you consumed a seahorse? Have you, do you know anything? What do you think about seahorses? These kind of questions, right? So this is some of the little data that we have, that we found out in Malaysia, right? Out of 500 people that we have spoken to back then, this is not the latest result, of course, this is halfway. Out of the 500 people that we have spoken to, we only found out that 6.4% of Malaysians have only ever eaten seahorses. Most of them are more senior age people, all right? Most of them, 6.4, only 32. Most of us do not eat seahorses, all right? Okay, then what about, those are for consumption. What about seahorses which are non-consumption purpose? That means we use seahorse for other stuff. There are some different demographic groups that uses seahorses as part of culture. So we use seahorses as part of our charm, as a lucky charm, as some people say that it's used to ward off evil, all different kinds of uses. We're not here to dispute what kind of uses they may be used for, but here this project is more to understand how seahorses play a role in our daily lives, in a Malaysian daily life, and to what extent. All right. So only 2.6% is a very, very small number. It's only 13 people. All right. All right. What are the other things that we do? All right. So with Save Our Seahorses, we actually we established in 2005, not by myself, but my late lecturer, Mr. Chee. Unfortunately, he passed on in 2013. So this is what we are continuing. Part of the work here today is that this is down in Johor, towards near Gelang Patah, towards the second link, moving to Singapore Tuas link. So what I do is that I was quite privileged to be able to lead a group of teachers and the team from the SJKC, Funyutu, more recently, to go and visit the site alongside with me to look for seahorses. And what we do when we found a seahorse, you can see the bottom. I actually measure the seahorse, and then sometimes we also tag the seahorses. We do a little bit tagging to know the name of the seahorse, because why? We are assessing the population in the area. How many seahorses are there in the area? Are they healthy? How many males? How many females? What are the other seahorses that live in the area? What are the other animals that live in the area? Sometimes we do have stingrays, we do have sea stars, we have volute shells, even otters. If you're lucky, you get otters swimming around nearby, a lot of different birds. And all these are done in the site down in Johor, south of Johor, towards the second link. And this project has been continuous since 2005 until today. All right. So this is one of our main things. We do a seagrass walk. All right. The other one is we go scuba diving. It's not in Johor, not only in Johor, we do in Sabah, we do in Penang, we do in Langkawi, we do in Perak. So this one is currently we are on the tail end of like trying to set up everything again. We're looking for in the future if you learn scuba diving or have a scuba diving license, you may sign up with us, help us go scuba diving and look for seahorses underwater. So the previous one is just walking. There's no swimming. There's no snorkeling, there's no scuba diving involved. It's just walking on water, all right, during the low tide. Whereas this one is we are fully underwater. We go scuba diving, we want to look out for seahorses. What do we do when we spot a seahorse? We want to measure them to see their health, whether they're healthy or not, like I shared. And then we're able to tag them. This is the male seahorse and who is his partner, which is the female seahorse is the partner, whether they are whether they are there or not. If we come back 1 month later, are they in the same space? Do we spot them again? These are the little things we do in science, and with your help, so there's only one of me. I cannot be traveling the whole of Malaysia to look out for all the seahorses at different places at the same time. So this is where we get members of the public to participate. So you may join us, for 1 or 2 trips and become a marine biologist for a day. We'll guide you how to become a seahorse scientist, how to look for seahorses, how to spot them, how do you measure them? And these are the things that we do, get you involved. We want people to be involved, to be able to understand exactly what do we do and how they can personally contribute to seahorses as well. All right. So as I mentioned, there are, we have crowdfundings. So what is the job of a marine biologist? So a lot of people think that we, marine biologists, we spend all our time scuba diving. Traveling around the world, scuba dive, look for seahorses, look for dolphins, look for turtle. That may be true, but we only do that 20% of our time. A lot of our work, yes, it may be beautiful in certain aspects, but we also sit behind in the office. We also write a lot of reports, yeah? So don't be fooled. They say that, hey, I want to become a marine biologist, to be able to do to all the cool things. Yes, all these things may sound great, but I want to share also that it is equally important for us to write and share what we discover, right? And share to the people today, this is what we did, what we discovered. Here is a report. Here is sometimes we go into media, we go into radio as well to share our excitement and to share all the other aspects that we part of our work. Not only that, our job is also to share educational purposes, like myself today, sharing with everyone in the public why I love seahorses and why are they special. That is what some of the things that we do. And we also work very closely with people from the government, from the state, from the federal government, from the state government, from the fisheries department, for all the relevant different stakeholders and sometimes developers. How can all of us play a part in making sure that the things that we do today are sustainable and not endangering, or putting the life of the seahorses and everything that shares the same place, share the same habitat as seahorse in great danger, right? All right. But I may have been talking a lot about seahorses today. You have probably heard about my enthusiasm and my love for the seahorses and all that. But I want to share with you, I am not the only marine biologist in town. Please do support all my other friends as well. So they run different NGOs. There are marine biologists all around Malaysia working on different aspects, different animals that you can learn from today as well. So we have Marisat. Marisat works on dolphins, whales, and dugongs in Malaysia. Yes, you heard it right. We have dolphins in Malaysia. We have whales in Malaysia. So if you're interested in those, you can check out the group called Marisat. They are on the social media as well. They have a great team, great friends of mine. They work out, they look around doing dolphin surveys. Where are the dolphins in Malaysia? And what do we do? How can we assess their population? These are the great work that they do. And I think if you have the opportunity, do sign up with them. We also have TCS, Turtle Conservation Society. They're actually based in Kemaman in Terengganu. What they do is they work with terrapins, tuntung, right, in Malay. So You can go up there, have a hatchery, a center over there that you can help out and learn, and even a little museum that you can go and visit to understand them, learn about how, not only about turtles, but also terrapins, why are terrapins important and what role they play. And, most people would be more familiar with sea turtles, but they are not exposed to terrapins. So I think you should check them out as well. If you're looking more for sea turtle kind of work, you can go to See Through, where I studied my marine biology program. They have a See Through program for volunteers. We have Reef Check. If animal is not for you, but you want more from the environment, they work with coral reef habitats. Corals are animals as well, yeah, but they are more of a larger scale. So this is more of a habitat. So if you're interested in corals, the beautiful corals that we have all around Malaysia, you can check them out, Reef Check. They do a lot of scuba diving work. They do a lot of public outreach. And last, but certainly not least, we have Shark Savers Malaysia. Talk a lot about sharks. For some of you who are interested in sharks and what they do and why they are important to the environment, you can volunteer with them. They do a lot of outreach programs as well. Of course, last but not least, SOS Malaysia would be where I represent. All right. So for those of you tuning in today, who maybe more on the adult side, and you have been scuba diving, if you spot a seahorse, you may log on to iseahorse.org and upload your seahorse sighting. Those beautiful pictures of yours that you take about seahorses, you can upload it there into the program. So it helps scientists like myself be able to know, hey, let's say Mr. X spotted a seahorse in Johor at this spot. So I would be able to know that you spotted a seahorse from there, what kind of seahorse, and you help me and also to tell me that, say, hey, maybe this is an area that needs our attention. So this is what iSeahorse is all about. And when we do it underwater, we go and scuba dive. Like I said, being part of volunteering with us, we will guide you on how to be a marine biologist, either for a trip, for a weekend, just for a short period of time. You're able to. So we teach you how to measure a seahorse underwater. You can see we use a little ruler to do a little ratio. How to tell whether it's male or female. Just to recap, male seahorses, they have a pouch at the bottom, where female seahorses they do not have a pouch here. That's the easiest way to spot between the male and the female. All right. These are the things that we do, whether it's on land, in the intertidal, or that. Last but not least, we do have education and awareness. This is a render of a copy of the book, A Seahorse Story, that I wrote back in 2020 that I published. So it tells the story of from a seahorse perspective, what happened to its home and how it's being saved and reintroduced, right? So with that, it comes to the end of my sharing today. As well, of course, I would like to thank the organizers, of course, from the pegawai-pegawai from Pendidikan Johor, Jabatan Pendidikan Johor, and then we have all the funders for tracing our seahorses, and all the other interns and the volunteers have been working with us closely. Okay, so with that, I would like to pass back the floor to Mr. Michael.
Yes, Dr. Adam. Thank you, Dr. Adam, for his wonderful and informative speech. Your speech absolutely amazing. Your passion for the subject matter was evident, and it made a significant impact on all of us. Thank you once again for sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. So for now, we are going to answer your questions. As a reminder, you can still submit the questions through the comments in the chat box. So for our first questions, is, do seahorses sleep, as they always look like they open their eyes for 24 hours, 24/7? Doctor?
That is a very interesting question. So yes, seahorses do rest, all right? They are pretty much like the other fishes. They do not have eyelids, so they are not able to close their eyes, but they spend a lot of time dormant at wherever they're hanging onto. So they are just hanging there, resting up. Yeah. Whether we want to call that sleep or not, I cannot be certain, but they certainly rest a lot.
So for the next question, how many babies can a seahorse have?
Okay, so for babies, for seahorses, it depends on the size of the male. So some of the younger males, they have a smaller pouch, right? So if even a larger female, when they transfer the egg into the pouch of the male, if it's full, it will get overflow and it will not be, fertilized and all. So it can go from hundreds, but for larger individuals, so some seahorses can be really huge, about 20 cm, the size of our palm, can be huge. Then they are able to carry more eggs. Sometimes can go up to thousands. So our record to date is about 1,000 to 1,002.
1,000 to 1,002 babies. Okay. So for our next question, what is the average lifespan of a seahorse, and do different species have the variant species varied lifespans?
Absolutely correct. Different species have varying lifespan. It is also based on the size of the seahorse. So usually for the average size seahorse, the palm size one, those are average size for most species. We would say between 5 to 7 years, they can be able to live. Whereas the smaller one, like the pygmy seahorse, you're talking about at least average to about 3 years. Yeah. Some larger ones, the largest seahorse species of seahorse is called the pot-bellied seahorse, found in Australia. They're about the size of the elbow. They can grow up about that. They can live, probably close to between 8 to 9 years. Yeah, so it really depends on the size of the seahorse.
The larger the size, the longer the lifespan.
Correct.
Okay. So the fourth question is from the audience is, what is the role of seahorses in marine ecosystems, and how do they impact other organisms?
Okay, so for seahorses, they act as the apex predator. So they sit on the top of the food chain. They feed continuously. They feed on the smaller animals, keeping them in check. So similar like the shark works as the top of the food chain. So what happens is that most of the time they do number control. So like the seahorses, like the shark, they will control the number of fish. Have too many of them. You have too many of them, then it will go out of control. The resources will not be in balance. So the role of a seahorse is to keep the ecosystem in check, to be healthy. Survival of the fittest in that sense as well.
So for the next
Second question.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
There were two in one earlier.
Yes. The second question is just now, how do they impact other organisms?
So for those animals, organisms that are larger than the seahorse, they don't really impact them. So for those who are smaller and fit the snout, then they just do the population control.
Understand. Okay, for the next question, how do we differentiate a male and a female without a pouch?
Okay. To differentiate a male and a female without a pouch, there are some males who have not been pregnant before. You can see what they call the pouch skin flap developing at the base. For a female, it's very sharp S. So because they don't have a belly, they don't have the pouch, it will be a sharp curvature inside. Whereas the male is more gradual. So it's like you're going to be slopey. You can slope it in. Right? But for even younger ones, for juvenile, we are not able to tell them apart. The only way is you can see the gonads. You have to actually dissect the seals, but if we don't want to do that, it will kill them, of course. Yeah.
So we wait there until they grow adult, then we can check it.
Correct.
Okay. So the student asked about how long can a seahorse travel across the ocean?
Okay, that's actually a very wonderful question. Why I would say that is, despite being the worst swimming fish in the world, seahorses tend to migrate. They migrate in the sense that they will go up to the ocean. They will hang on to the anything that's floating. Can be a cotton bud, can be a branch, can be anything, and they follow the ocean and can travel quite a distance before they find a new home and they will settle down. That question, to this day, all of us scientists, we have no answer for it because there were no consistency. And seahorses are just too small for us to put a tracker on them. And when they go to the bottom of the ocean, we're not able to track. So our technology have not kept up in such a way that we're able to give you a direct answer for that. Who knows? Maybe if you're interested, that may be the answer that you want to solve.
True. As you have discussed just now, the male seahorses will give birth to their baby. Why can't the female seahorses give birth to their baby? Like human beings.
So this is where there's this term called sex role reverse. Sex role reverse means the male seahorse will carry on the responsibilities of a female, and then the female seahorse will carry on the responsibilities of a male animal. So this is a behavioral evolution. So they have already evolved in such a way where the males are the one that provides all the nutrition, because the size of the males are larger. So they are able, when they when they are holding on to the fertilized eggs, they're able to provide the nutrition and the blood, similar like a human that is being pregnant. They provide the oxygen and everything to for the fertilized egg to grow up, hatch within the pouch, and then later on deliver as a full seahorse, baby seahorse.
Okay, thank you, doctor. I'm sorry, there's a lot of questions. Okay, the next one would be why does people like to eat seahorses? Does it taste good?
Well, why do people eat seahorses? From what we found out in our current study tracing our seahorses, there's only a very, very small number of people in Malaysia that have ever eaten seahorses. It's very small. So naturally, over here in our country, in Malaysia, we are not going where it's something that's over time people will not be eating anymore. All right. But other countries, yes, it's a trade. Sometimes it's because of culture. I wouldn't say that they are because they are tasty. They are basically a salted fish. It tastes exactly the same like a salted fish. It's not because they are tasty. It's more for cultural purposes. Yeah.
Understandable. Okay, so next, does seahorse have predators? Like just now you said they are at the apex of like the sharks. So would they have any like enemies like predators?
Seahorses do not have a unique or direct predator. So that means there are no animals in the world that only eat seahorses. No, they do not have. But larger fishes, they do consume seahorse if the seahorse is at the wrong place at the wrong time. Same for the shark. There are no particular animal that only eats sharks. However, if the shark is at the wrong place at the wrong time, there's a killer whale there, then unfortunately they get preyed on. Yeah, it's usually the larger animals that prey on the smaller ones.
Cool. Okay, so it's quite related to the previous question, this question. Is it possible for the seahorse to eat bigger animals that are bigger than it? Is it possible?
It is not possible. So seahorses are what I call is that they are very picky eaters. Too big, don't like. Too small, don't like. Just nice, must be Goldilocks. It must, why? Just nice to fit its snout. So they want it to be able to snap, immediately swallow. If it's too big, they get choked. So normally they won't. Seahorses are quite smart in such a way they are able to identify the right size only they target. Otherwise, they would ignore it.
Okay, very good. Oh, okay, so they are picky eaters. Okay, so another question from a teacher. What is the rarest seahorse species that we have found so far? The rarest one.
That's probably a question that I'm not able to answer. Rarest, because it's a very subjective term. Rarest could also mean that we have not discovered it yet. So there are still new species of seahorses at the bottom of the ocean that no human has ever discovered. So every 2 years, we have a new species out. So even though if you want to say that rare for a species that's discovered, there's this particular dwarf seahorse in Australia. We call it Hippocampus minator. We only found it in the net only once. We only have one specimen in Australia. That's it. Have never ever discovered again. So I hope that answers the teacher's question. So it's quite subjective there.
In Malaysia, don't have. We don't
Malaysia, I would say Malaysia, we have quite an interest in scuba diving. So a lot of people actually help out when they discover a seahorse, and then they take a picture of it, they do send it online, then I'm able to track them. Yeah.
Okay. Another question. How are the seahorse used in traditional Chinese medicine, TCM?
Okay, so for this question, when we found out in tracing our seahorses project, the seahorses are not specifically only used by the Chinese community. They're actually used by all communities. We have the Malay community, we have the Indian community. Each of us, the different demographic group, have a different use for seahorses. So going back to the question is how, especially being used in the Chinese community, usually they are not part of the main ingredient. They form part of the recipe. For especially when the Chinese traditional medicine practitioner, the sensei, when they just go and pack the medicine, it serves as a part of it. So this is one of the projects that we are ongoing. We are working very closely with universities, also with the Chinese shops, the medicine shops. We're working very closely with them. In fact, even in China, we have shifted towards using seeds and grains. So a lot of the animal parts are slowly being taken away from these traditional Chinese medicine outlets. So they are replaced with seeds and grains that offer similar or even better context or nutritional value compared to the animal parts.
That's good. That's a good news. Yeah, because they are being replaced. So next, another question. Sorry. Does the seahorse? Sorry. Do seahorses kill each other?
It's a very interesting one. Seahorses, they do not kill one another, but the males do compete for the female. So we have seen, so that's a very interesting one because we actually saw it on the video recording. So like most animals that do not have hands, they will bump each other, they just knock each other. Compete for for their partner.
Yes. Oh, they just fight using their heads.
No, they just use their head and bump.
Okay, that's quite cute. Huh? So next, can we keep seahorses as pets? Can they live at our home as normal pet fish, like adopt seahorse? Yes.
For that, I do not recommend that we do that because it is not easy to care for seahorse. It's one of the hardest animal to take care, a marine aquarium animal to take care, and it costs a lot of money in terms of the food. You need to keep feeding the seahorse live food, so you're spending. Yeah, they're very picky. They don't eat pellets. They most of the time they don't eat dead food unless they are trained over generations. So there's a lot of different techniques under aquaculture. I'm not going to go into that, but as a stance, we do not encourage people to keep seahorses as pets because chances are they're going to die.
Understand. Okay. Or because sometimes they are not also. Is it compatible with the environment in our house? Maybe the aquarium. Maybe is it incompatible?
You need to make a whole aquarium just for it. So that once again, in terms of costing, it's going to cost a lot to maintain, to set up, maintain, and also to care for it.
Okay. How many % of seahorse babies survive into adulthood? Like for example, just now what doctor have shared, 1,000 babies, around how many % of them survive?
So for when an animal has a lot of babies, compared to some animals, you have 1 or 4 babies. So if you see mammals, some mammal animals, you have 1 only. So the smaller the number, the rule of thumb is the smaller the number of offspring, the babies, the higher the chance of survival. The more babies at one pregnancy or one batch, the lesser percentage of survival. So for seahorses, it's 0.5%.
0.5.
So out of 1,000, maybe only 1 or 2 only survive to adulthood. That's why seahorses keep producing every 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, understandable. Okay. Questions about seahorses from a teacher. Many seahorses are monogamous, at least during a single breeding cycle. A myth perpetuates that seahorses met for life, but this doesn't seem to be true. Do you agree with this statement?
Okay. Yes, seahorses are monogamous. That is correct. I wouldn't say they mate for life. Reason being is they are monogamous as long as the partner is around. So the male and female seahorse need to go for dating on a daily basis. So the male seahorse will always be in a very small area, a 10 square meter area. They're always in the same place. Whereas the female seahorse will move around a bit more, 100 square meters. So they are the larger area. But every morning, as long as this seahorse, what we call paired bond, the female will go and find the male to go for the dance, the courtship dance. They need to maintain this on a daily basis. And if the pair bond is broken means the male may be missing or the female got taken away. So, they go missing for certain reasons. Something got eaten or taken or kidnapped for the aquarium trade or whatsoever. If they do not maintain this, then whichever individual may look for another partner to form another pair bond.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you say that monogamous, yes, provided that they continue to, to be, maintain this relationship. Otherwise, no. For the adults, what usually I say is that seahorses also prove that they cannot do long distance.
Okay, I understand. Okay, so next, what would happen if there was a male seahorse that could not find a girlfriend, for example? Would he stay single forever, or would the male just become pregnant by himself?
Okay, so the males, we have not have any incidents where the males get pregnant by themselves. So they need a female to transfer the eggs over. Usually, in terms of they're not able to find a mate is when they are young, because the females prefer larger males because they're able to carry more eggs. So usually they will wait until the right partner comes along. Yeah, because they will grow larger. As they grow older, they grow larger and taller by height, and then that's where they come in.
Okay. So, okay, for the last question, let me have a look. Okay. Among the most fascinating facts about the seahorses that have been shared by Doctor, which facts is the one that captivates Doctor the most? Is it the one that motivates Doctor to continue helping the seahorses from facing their extinction?
Well, I think thank you for the question. I think that's the first time in all my other webinars that this question is asked. The one that really hooked me into really start studying seahorses, and why? Because I was curious. Back then I was a volunteer. I actually joined up with SOS Malaysia as a volunteer. I went out to the site down in Johor, and during my first trip, imagine if that everybody in the trip spotted a seahorse except for me. So I'm not sure about you, but you would feel frustrated. I did feel frustrated. I signed up for a second time. I revisit the site, and the same thing happened. Everyone spotted a seahorse, even the kids spotted a seahorse, except for me. So that's why we say third time is the charm. So the third time is the charm. I went back on the third site. I remember it was 8 a.m. in the morning. I spotted my first pair of seahorse. They were dancing. I do not only spot one seahorse, I spot my pair of seahorse. That's when I asked my innocent question is that, hey, they meet each other in the morning. The ocean is very huge and vast. How do they communicate? They don't have handphone, right? Back then I was very young. So they don't have handphone. How do they exactly communicate with one another? That's when the question came up, and during my undergraduate research project, I started to try to answer the question, how did seahorses communicate with one another? That's when I explored the sound, and I continued on to my PhD. I was actually listening to seahorses. I was studying the sound of seahorses, how the sounds are created, and whether different species have a different sound, unique pattern on their own, different individuals have unique pattern on their own. So that's what hooked me in. And until today, I've been more than happy to talk about the communication of seahorses.
Oh, okay, nice, very good. Okay, so I think that is all for our question and answer session for today. Yeah? So if you have any questions that we didn't manage to get today, please do comment and contact us. We'll pause a recording of this program on YouTube after the end of the program. So once again, I would like to thank Dr. Adam for his wonderful, informative, and inspiring speech. And thank you for everyone for supporting us in attending this program. Next is a very important reminder. The Google Form link will be administered now. As a reminder, in order to obtain the E-certificate stat level, Year 4 to Year 6 pupils will need to score 60% and above in the quiz, whereas for the secondary pupils will need to score 70% and above in the quiz. So please remember to sign in with your MOE account only. The quiz will be accessible for only 1 hour. I repeat, only 1 hour. So on behalf of SJKC Fung 2, we would like to thank all of you once again for joining us today, and have a great rest of your day. May our time here be filled with enlightening discussions, profound discoveries, and a renewed sense of purpose. Thank you once again, all of you. Take care. Stay safe, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Lim.